We're kicking off today with the Women's Royal Rumble match, as Bayley was left standing tall alone following an exciting match full of surprises. The bout started with a massive surprise as Naomi returned to WWE as the number 2 entrant after over a year away from WWE following her controversial walkout in 2022. The commentators even referenced her TNA tenure and Knockouts title reign, and she'd last the majority of the match before being eliminated by another surprise, Jade Cargill. Both Naomi and Bayley lasted over an hour each, and while Nia Jax's tenure in the match was much shorter, she dominated with several eliminations. The match came down to Bayley, Cargill, and the returning from injury Liv Morgan, and the action saw all 3 women battling on the apron before Morgan eliminated Jade. Bayley would then eliminate her fellow former SmackDown Women's Champion to win, earning a shot at Io Sky or Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania 40. One highlight of the match saw Valhalla begin making her way to the ring as the number 24 entrant, only to be interrupted by R-Truth, who raced to the ring. Truth was almost immediately thrown over the top rope by Nia Jax, and as he landed on the outside, Truth was approached by an irate Valhalla, as well as Raw GM Adam Pearce. Pearce pointed out that this was the women's match, and Truth admitted that he got confused in another hilarious spot by the veteran. TNA Knockouts World Champion Jordynne Grace was a huge surprise as the number 5 entrant, and she and Naomi had a brief embrace in the ring before trading blows. While Grace made her WWE debut, with her Knockouts title no less, she is still signed to TNA, and everything about her WWE debut went through TNA management. Fightful Select reports that Grace's debut was a complete surprise to many in WWE, and WWE had allegedly reached out to outside the company to ask about Rumble surprises. It's unclear who else WWE reached out to, but WWE found her and TNA easy to deal with, and there were some in TNA who speculated earlier this month about a Rumble spot. This isn't Grace's first WWE role, as she did motion capture for Ivy Niles' model in 2K23, and it's reported that she had blood work and a physical done this past Monday. Grace flew to Florida on Thursday for rehearsals, which clearly paid off, as she performed admirably in the match before being eliminated by a KOD-wielding Bianca Belair. Out of the 7 women's rumbles, this was one of the best, with a hot crowd, surprises, returns, unique eliminations, and everything working out in excellent fashion. Roxanne Perez made her presence felt during the women's rumble match, but those watching closely will have known about her arrival before the match. In a video showing Randy Orton in the arena earlier in the day, Perez's theme song could be heard, spoiling that she'd have a role in the women's rumble. Sure enough, Perez was the lucky number 27 entrant and had quite the showing, but her surprise appearance in the match wasn't a total shock. In the US Championship match, Logan Paul and Kevin Owens seemed to have an answer for every move from the other and had the fans hooked on their contest. The match saw a very unique finish, with Austin Theory handing Logan Paul some brass knuckles, though it'd be Owens who'd use the knucks on the Maverick. Owens seemingly had the title won before the ref noticed mid-pinfall that he was wearing the foreign object, resulting in a DQ and Paul retaining the championship. Post-match, Owens took his fury out on Paul, powerbombing the champ through the table, but at the end of the day, it was Logan leaving Florida with the gold. For the Undisputed Universal title, Orton and Reigns paired up while Styles and Knight fought on the opposite side of the ring before the 4 converged on the announce table. All 4 men earned cheers from the crowd as the fans appreciated the efforts of everyone, even the heels, which made for a raucous feel to the match. To the surprise of nobody, the Bloodline had an impact on the match, with Solo Sikoa pulling the ref out of the ring to save Roman from being pinned. One pinfall attempt on Reigns saw the champion kick out at 2, which was as close to 3 as it could get, and an example of perfect timing. L.A. Knight is a flashy wrestler, but he's also very technically sound, and a lot of what he does looks about as good as it can, which bears well for his future. Pat McAfee was certainly loving Knight's work, and at one point busted out an incredible Steve Austin impression, as the broadcaster was having a blast with his comeback. Randy Orton proved to be just as good as he's ever been, and made a kid's whole day with a no-look high-five on the way to the ring. This was a solid match, but whenever Reigns wrestles now, it's hard to fully invest in the match because you know the outcome going into it and how they'll get there. The Tribal Chief retained his title by pinning Styles, and while this match was fine, it won't go down as the best match on this card. Before the Men's Royal Rumble match got underway, there was a video package highlighting some Rumble stats, but fans noticed a huge exception. The voiceover explained that 5 superstars have won from the number 30 spot in the men's match and named The Undertaker, John Cena, Triple H, and Cody Rhodes. The only person to not be mentioned was Brock Lesnar, likely due to the Beast being referenced in the Janelle Grant lawsuit filed earlier this week. The men's Royal Rumble match was saved for the main event of the show and kicked off with the long-awaited showdown between Jimmy and Jey Uso. This would set the tone for the match, as Andrade El Idolo would return to WWE as the number 4 entrant, earning a huge ovation from the crowd in St. Petersburg. Carmelo Hayes, who entered at number 5, earned a similarly loud response, and a very good sign of what's to come for his time on the main roster when his NXT run inevitably ends. Karrion Kross and Bobby Lashley would continue their feud that's been developing on SmackDown, which saw Lashley eliminate Kross before Kross returned the favor. This confrontation saw AOP and the Street Profits emerge to add some backup to the respective sides, and a sign that this feud is far from over on SmackDown. Cody Rhodes earned one of the biggest pops of the night, if not the biggest, when he entered the match at number 15, and it was then that we noticed that the Usos were still fighting. Looking back, Jimmy spends almost the entirety of his time in the match trying to eliminate Jey, and often teaming with whichever superstar had their sights set on Jey. It was a great idea to keep Jimmy and Jey working together, and makes clear that the brothers are on course for a showdown, almost certainly at WrestleMania 40. Gunther's entry at the number 18 spot would come shortly after the elimination of Ludwig Kaiser, adding another story to the match as to how the Austrian would fare without Imperium. Braun Breaker would prove to be a dominant force when he entered at the number 20 spot, even eliminating Omos, and we have to think a full call-up can't be far behind. Before Omos's elimination, however, he would scare Pat McAfee into eliminating himself, and Braun Breaker would subsequently get eliminated by Dominic Mysterio. Breaker would deliver a spear to JD McDonough before heading to the back, and R-Truth would kindly throw JD into the ring just so he could get eliminated. We mentioned how Cody Rhodes had one of the loudest reactions of the night, but his pop was easily matched by CM Punk, who competed in his first WWE TV match since 2014. Fans expecting a huge, shocking final entrant may have been somewhat disappointed that Sami Zayn was the last entrant, considering the number of surprises we saw in the women's match. After a dominant showing by Drew McIntyre, he was eliminated by CM Punk, leaving the rightful final 3 being CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, and Gunther. In a sight reminiscent of the previous year, Rhodes eliminated Gunther, with the crowd getting to their feet for the final face-off between Cody and CM Punk. After hitting a successful GTS, Punk's final GTS of the match would be caught by Rhodes, and the man Punk called Dusty's Kid would toss Punk out to win the entire match. With this win, Cody is the first person since Steve Austin in 1998 to win back-to-back Royal Rumbles, and Cody would waste no time in pointing at Roman Reigns in the skybox. Rhodes' dream was shattered at WrestleMania 39, but he now has a second chance to finish the story in a rematch that the American Nightmare and the fans have been waiting for. But what did you think of the 2024 Royal Rumble? Did the right people win? Let us know down below.